All work and no play makes Brian a dull boy. Um, so I'm on like this marathon of recording content today because I wanted to batch out all my time in the studio and I wanted to do a little bit of something for me. So I've been doing stuff for my marketing business, and so I wanted to have a conversation about this conversation I was having with myself, but it was spawned from a conversation we had online. We need to discuss hip hop's Peter Pan syndrome, bro, and we need to discuss it as older-ish hip hop heads. So I'm talking to the people that is around my age. You got to be 35 and up to understand where I'm going with this. And so that's what we're going to talk about on today's episode of Blerding While Dad. I'm doing a live stream and I'm trying to cut it down so I can do making an episode of the podcast and then post it on the YouTube channel. So we're gonna see where this goes. But um, we're going to talk about hip hop's Peter Pan syndrome and why some of my peers are struggling with growing up and getting older. Welcome back to Blerding While Dad. At Blerding While Dad, we sit down and talk about all things related to being black and nerdy, but hip hop is an intersection because I am a hip hop nerd. I'm a music nerd. My background um, with the art form goes all the way back to getting my first boombox when I was a little kid. Even before then, because one of the first records, one of the first singles that my mom bought me was the Fat Boys. Um, it was a single for Crushin', and I think it was a Beach Boys song. It was Wipeout. So there's a single for Wipeout, and the B side was Crushing, or the A side was Crushing, and the B side was Wipeout. One of the two, but it was a Fat Boys record. And I was sitting there trying to scratch it on my little play school turntable. So that's kind of where my hip hop journey started. And it kind of followed me all the way to where I am today. And I remember things in my life based on what I was listening to um, at the time. And that's how I have a reference for a lot of aspects of my life. Um, I know, like, I could lay it down like this. I know in eighth grade, I was obsessed with EPMD and their Business Never Personal album, the one with Headbanger and Crossover on it. And I listened to that album till I broke the tape. And that kind of informed my eighth grade year. That and the Brand Nubian one, I think is right after Brand Pooba left the group. And so it was just Lord Jamar's Dot X with Punks Jump Up to Get Beat Down. Those albums were the ones that really kind of informed um, my eighth grade life. So that's what I mean by what I say. I use hip hop as kind of a reference. It's kind of the soundtrack of my existence. And so, ninth grade was um, ninth grade was back to back because I got um, a Tribe Called Quest Midnight Marauders for Christmas from my cousin Denise, and that album was my record that year. That's up until then, I bought because I was still stupid enough to go to Walmart and buy my albums and not understanding that when you buy records from Walmart back in the days, they're all edited. So I had Cypress Hill, the album that dropped in 1993. I can't remember exact. I see now the names kind of trip me up, but that I think it was that second or third Cypress Hill album. I think it was the second Cypress Hill album, to be honest with you. I bought that at Walmart at the beginning of the school year, and um, the Wu Tang cassette, and you could only buy it on cassette for a long time in Omaha. The CD didn't come out until a lot later, and it was an edited version of that first Wu Tang album. And so those albums were kind of the things that defined that first year. And as I moved through my freshman year, I think might have been the year, I think it was 94, my sophomore year, when Murder Was the Case dropped, and that ended up becoming my the Murder Was the Case soundtrack. That ended up becoming my soundtrack. So what I'm saying is this: I remember stuff based on what I was listening to. That's how strong my connection is with hip hop. And so don't say this lightly when I'm saying that hip hoppers, those that are around my age, we talking about 35, 36, 37, all the way up to 40, 45. We are having a difficult time with this aging thing. Um, and what I'm saying is this: I see a lot of conversations online with a lot of people that I interact with on a day to day basis. People's opinion I respect, and the frustration and the overall sadness of the direction of the culture and where hip hop's going and things along those lines. And my question is, because I can still find hip hop records that I connect with 100%. Um, and a lot of my favorite artists are still making music. You just got to go find it. Um, and so I'm not seeing what the issue is because I'm still able to find stuff that I like from people that I want to listen to. And a lot of hip hoppers my age are bemoaning the death of the culture and they don't connect with the music. And here's what my question is, y'all. I got to ask y'all, I got to be transparent with you. I got to ask you straight up. Why do you have this expectation that these kids that are making hip hop right now make music that you relate to? You 40 years old. Why do you need to relate to what the 21-year-old is talking about? You're too grown for this. You're too old for this. You sitting there listening to rappers being stressed out by some 25-year-old girl, or they, doing drugs in the club and all stuff. You too old for this, bro. Why do you need it to resonate with you? Go listen to somebody your age and listen to what they're talking about. That's what I'm saying, bro. I need to know from my older hip hop heads, because I think one of the problems is we never established that older hip hop heads. And for the generations before us, they never really quite established it either. They just started listening to what we was listening to. And so the MCs that they listen to kind of went by the wayside, even though they're making money touring right now. All the hip hop shows are selling out are the old MCs, the older Big Daddy Kane and all them. They're still making money touring. And I'll get into why my concept of why that's happening. But I'm asking y'all the question: why do you need to be able to relate to what a 23-year-old is saying when you are 43 years old? You're literally old enough to be this person's father. Why do you feel like their music needs to speak to you directly? That's what I'm asking. That's what I'm asking. And so get your grown man on, your grown woman on, your grown person on, and stop being locked into this fascination with with having the music relate to you. Because here's the reality, and I'm gonna bring some other genres in. The folks that grew up on like Metallica and Bon Jovi, they mess with Bon Jovi or Metallica for life. They don't ever feel the pressure to have to go out and find younger rock bands to listen to. That's what they listen to. They listen to, Metallica and Bon Jovi and all them other Alanis Morissette and all them other people that are still making music. That's who they connect with. That's who they vibe with. There is no expectation that um, the younger folks make music that they like. So why do we do this to ourselves as hip hop fans? Why? What is the purpose of it? And I think it does go back to the fact that we never really been forced to grow up out of that. The music has always spoken to us where we're at. And so the previous hip hop heads before then, they still listen to some of the old school cats, but they don't really, they go out to the shows and stuff like that. But they are always able to relate to the younger folks. And so, and then we end up getting in the neck because I gotta keep it buck with y'all. We end up getting in the neck because they're talking about, well, the hip hop y'all listening to doesn't connect with me. And I'm like, but bro, you 60 years old, man. I'm 40. I'm in my 40s. You 60 years old. You still expecting the music to relate to you and you've been able to connect to it. It doesn't work like that. Find people that you like and support them. Find people that talk about the things that you relate to and support them. But stop expecting these children to make music that you connect to. It doesn't make any sense. When I was in college, right? I'm dating myself. I'll be honest with you. But I was in college in the late 90s, right? And the boy band stuff was just really taking off. Like the resurgence of the white boy bands. The black boy bands always existed. But the resurgence of the white boy bands was really resurgent. And so, NSYNC and uh the Backstreet Boys and 98 Degrees was really in their bag, um, ripping off the aesthetics of black R&B groups and kind of making them palatable for the bigger audience. And even NSYNC just kind of threw away all pretenses at some point and just tried to turn into a white R&B group, whatever. But anyway, I'm watching all the boy bands, all the little pop stars. So there would have been Christina Aguilera, it had been Britney Spears, it had been all of them. I'm sitting there and I'm a radio DJ, right? I'm a hip hop DJ. I'm sitting there watching this like, "Ugh." I wouldn't have anything to do with it because I didn't connect with the music because I wasn't the audience for it. And that's okay. That was like me being a grown man with kids and me trying to connect with Hannah Montana when Hannah Montana was popping. That doesn't make any sense. Why would I be mad at Hannah Montana talking about and I'm a grown man? And so that's why I'm asking y'all. Why these are children that are coming out. These new rappers, when I'm looking at them, they are babies as far as I'm concerned. They little kids and they talk about little kids things. And so as a grown man, why would I get trying to hold on to that youth? We got to let it go. Right. Right. It's you're fighting a losing battle. Admit that you're getting older and your tastes are maturing, and that's cool. That's why there was a disconnect between my generation and my mom and my uncle's generation. She listened to what she was listening to, and she didn't have anything to do with my hip hop, and that was fine. That was cool. It'd have been really weird and jarring for my mom to listen to the same hip hop I was listening to. I might have gone in a different direction. It might have been too off-putting for me, bro. And so I think there's important consideration. We have to actually think about our age and our experience and stuff like that and start gravitating towards artists that represent that. It's okay. It is okay to be older. It's okay to be an older hip hop head who still enjoys the culture. It's okay to still be intellectually curious about artists that are coming out, and artists that are contemporary, and evaluating and seeing if it connects with it. Like the last Drake record. Hey, listen, my feelings on that bass, gentlemen, are pretty well established. All right, I've been really established on Drake and what my feelings are on Drake. I'm not going to rehash and I'm not going to relitigate it. Um, I am not the audience for that stuff. But I'm looking at bro and like, you 35 years old. Why are you still getting stressed out by 25-year-olds, bro? At some point, you got to put your foot down and say no. But I know I am not the audience for that. And so I may make fun of it, but I don't really ever take myself seriously on it. And a lot of people do take me super serious, especially online in the online spaces when I'm slandering Drake. I do it for my own entertainment because people are reactive and it pisses them off. But I need to understand I don't connect with that music because it's just not me. And at some point, I'm wondering if he gonna connect with it and say, "Okay, you in your upper 30s, you still stressing what 22-year-olds are doing in the club, bro. You got a kid, man. It's time to make a decision." My thing is, and this is kind of where I'm at with the old man hip hop thing. I am too old to be stressed out behind what a 19-year-old girl is doing unless that 19-year-old girl is my daughter or niece. Does that make sense? Like, I'm too old to be worried about that stuff. So why would I sit there and be entertained by music that's talking about that unless I'm trying to relive that? And Vaughn, but they're right. Trying to hold on to that youth, we got to let it go. At some point, you got to embrace the process of getting older because getting older is getting better by the day. And we got to stop having that fear about what it actually entails. And I know in hip hop specifically, and I'm going to get into a little bit of socio-political stuff. Hip hop has always been treated as disposable by the powers that be. It was always, initially it was always seen as a fad, something that wasn't built to last. And they treated the artists equally as disposable. And it's kind of the history of Black music, where in black music's always been considered the vanguard and the thing that's copied, but then also disposable. And so you look at what happened with blues, where they disposed of those, they took the styles and disposed of those artists as fast as they could. You look at what happened with jazz. You look at what happened with Motown music, soul music, where there was like this stigma. Oh, you're old. This old soul person is still trying to do it, and they throw them away. That's why I feel some kind of way. I'm not this huge genuine fan, right? My wife is. She loves genuine. Here's what my problem is with a lot of the memes and stuff talking about his age and getting older and stuff like that. There's this weird expectation that we put on black artists where they're just expected to just go away, and we make fun of them for trying to make a living after a certain expiration date, even though those are the songs we still go back to. Those are the songs we still listen to when we need to put our minds at rest or at ease, or we need to feel something comfortable from the days when things were simpler. That's who we go to. Hell, sometimes that's what we go back to when we need something that's contemporary, but still reminiscent of something older or a better time. And we have this weird expectation that black artists just kind of go away, and then we make fun of them for getting older. And so I am kind of off put by how we treat Genuine. I saw this thing where there was a video, I think Kevin on Stage posted it, was Cisco performing a medley of Drew Hill songs and Thong Song and stuff. And Cisco did a one-handed car stand, a one-handed cartwheel. This man is my age. He did a one-handed cartwheel. If I did a one-handed cartwheel on stage, and people would have to carry me up out of there. It's somebody's like, yeah, man, Cisco washed. This man sang, he danced, kept pitch and tone and everything, and did a one-handed cartwheel. What else more do you want? There are kids out here right now that can't do that, man. I think one of the reasons why they're having a difficult time selling tickets for the newer rappers, one, you're trying to sell to a group of people that don't have a whole lot of disposable income. That's one. Two, you don't get a lot of bang for your buck with a lot of the newer artists because them songs are only 2 minutes long. A set list might be 40 minutes and then you gone. Ain't nobody paying for that. I'll be honest with you. But I'm sitting there and they're making fun of Cisco for being washed. This man did a one-handed cartwheel while singing. You can't even get some of these popular artists, these TikTok artists, you can't even get them to walk and sing at the same time and stay on pitch and remember all the words. So I think there's this weird expectation that we have of black artists where we expect to just shuffle them off. And just because you're not popular or on the charts anymore, they're just supposed to fade away and never try to earn a living doing this again. And we're really starting to see it with hip hop. And I feel like it is kind of an ugly side of the culture where I've seen people talking about, oh, look at Redman, he's still trying to do it. Redman's music is not really taking a hit. Redman's music is still the same kind of quality. Method Man's music, same kind of quality. Tribe Called Quest last album was really good. The one right before the last album they had for Fife, it was really good. De La Soul stuff was really good. I went back and listened, like Paul Wall just dropped a new album, which is amazing. Like I was blown away by it. Slim Thug dropped an album. Midlife Crisis, it was a dope record. Little Brother has a single out. There's lots of artists out there that are our age that are still making good music, and it's still the music that you're familiar with, still the same hip hop that you're familiar with, that you grew up with. And I feel like we denigrate them in favor of the younger artists, but the younger artists are having a harder and harder time sticking around. That shelf life is shortening for these younger artists. They might drop a song that's really popular on TikTok, and within 6 months, the industry says they old and it's time for them to go. It's crazy, bro. Now, some of them will implode, like the baby. The baby imploded his own career, but he also had that shelf life on him Whereas like you got a shelf life of a year, man, you gotta make it happen. And within a year, they move it off from you. Blueface about to run headlong into that, man. That Tatiana song ain't gonna carry him that long. And he's making some very public gaffes out here. And so what I'm saying is this: not only do we punish our old artists, but we punish our new artists, and we don't allow them to grow outside the box we put them into. And a lot of it has to do with the stigma of getting older. So here's a case in point, and I know it's a little bit off the topic of hip hop, right? Um, but when I was growing up, I'm thinking, early high school, like ninth, 10th grade. Even before then, I gotta be honest with you, even before then, the R&B singers, New Jack Swing R&B singers, right after that New Jack era coming in, and then even before then, I got to say before then, a lot of them R&B singers, a lot of them R&B groups, male and female, they were like 15, 16, 17 years old. We didn't know that they're 15, 16, 17 years old. We thought they was adults. And then you sit down and find out that, like Jodeci ain't that much older than me, you know? And even some of the MCs, Nas came out when he was like, what, 17, 16, 17 years old? Um, Mobb Deep, you know, they were pretty young when they dropped. Busta Rhymes was a teenager when he first came out. Redman was a teenager when he first came out. A lot of these rappers and R&B singers of our era were really young when they came out. And now it's kind of flipped where you have people you're like, wait, he's 30? He's like 22. The idea of youth has flipped where it used to be you wanted to look older, you wanted to look like you were an adult as a teenager, and now it's you want to be a fully grown adult with mortgage and bills and appear like you're still 24 years old. Just interesting little snippet that I'm out there. So here's what it is. um my challenge with the way that we perceive hip hop, and this is what I'm concerned about. I'm really concerned that as we move on, the culture 50 is 50 years old. It's over 50 years old, depending on who you talk to. And um, it's one of those things where the culture's older, it's grown older, and it's shifting to an older demographic. And I'm concerned that we're in that stage where that happened with blues and happened with jazz, where the older artists are completely, totally put adrift and expected to just go off and die somewhere. And the younger folks are so disconnected with the older heads that they are actually hostile to the concept of older MCs. And when you do that and there's no idea of what we look at what the forefathers did, we look at what the classic, MCs did, or, you start it's really hard to maintain a culture with that. And so I am concerned with it. And I do think a lot of it is just um, an encapsulation of how Black musicians have been treated throughout the entire history of pop culture in this country. You know, not everybody is Otis Williams. And if you know, you know, not everybody's Otis Williams. Or Otis Williams has survived, I don't know how many iterations of the Temptations, and they're still touring. Not everybody survives that long. And so my concern is with how, we're starting to see a lot of these older rappers fall ill, and some of these uh, older statesmen in the culture, um, get older and destitute. And we're starting to see kind of a repetition of what happened with blues and jazz. It's frustrating, and I don't want to take it out on a downer note because I didn't want to start this out on I don't want to start this out as a downer episode. But when I look at the Dr. Dre from UMTV Raps, and I remember him posting a GoFundMe a couple years ago because he's dealing with some diabetic stuff and some health related stuff, and he's having a hard time getting around. And the sentiment towards him was really negative, it was hostile, saying, "Well, he was on TV. What happened to all that money?" I don't think people understood how exploitive the industry was for a lot of early MCs and a lot of early hip hop personalities. It was super exploitive. These corporations made millions off the backs of these young these rappers that are elder statesmen now, but were super young back then, and didn't provide that kind of money back towards them. Yo MTV Raps was one of the most popular shows on MTV in its history. Um, this is when everybody watched MTV. Nobody watches it now, but this is when everybody watched MTV. Yo MTV Raps was up there, and I know Dr. Dre and Ed Lover did not get paid and compensated the way that they should have for that show. It's got to keep it buck. And Dr. Dre has kind of fallen destitute with a lot of health things. I haven't followed up on the story. I hope he's in a better place now, but um, it was really exploitive. And so I think part of the exploitation does still stay in the music industry. These younger rappers are making more and more now than they've ever made before, and that's dope. But the shelf life on them and their earning potential is really capped, and it's not fair to them because they don't get a chance to grow as an artist. I have my criticisms of Nas throughout his history, and I had my period where I completely disconnected from Nas. But the one thing I can't deny is his growth as an artist from the first album to the current stuff. And I think a lot of young cats in hip hop aren't going to be able to have that kind of growth curve. They're going to get siloed off into a very specific time, and they're never going to be able to grow as artists. And that's what the Peter Pan syndrome is in hip hop, and that's why it's a negative thing. And I think as older heads, I think we do have to move away from the expectation that these kids rhyme about stuff that we relate to, because they're kids and we're adults. And we shouldn't always be able to relate to the same things and same activities that the kids are doing, because you shouldn't be doing the same things that the kids are doing. You too grown. You got a mortgage and two kids. Um, you know, Being high in the club and blacked out is not the option for you. You shouldn't be out there doing that every weekend. You're too old for that. You have to get up in the morning and go to work. You got to go take the kids to practice. And so, um, I do think that on some level, the older heads had to take a little bit of culpability and start seeking out the hip hop that speaks to who they are and speaks to their soul, and it's still out there. And you just got to have some intellectual curiosity and go look for it, and stop expecting these kids to make music for you. But on the other hand, I think the younger heads need to be, a little bit more, show a little bit more compassion to the older MCs and the elder statesmen in hip hop. And it doesn't always have to be this cannibalistic or tribalistic thing where they old and we young and stuff like that. We don't need to do that kind of stuff. So there's enough room in hip hop to have different generations, and we exist comfortably. And other music genres have figured this out. You know, country's figured it out. There's new country and then the old school country, and they both coexist. Now, they may not ride with you and may not like each other's specific generation of music, but they do find a way to exist together. Um, Rock is another one. Metal is another one. There's new metal, there's current contemporary heavy metal, and then there's the metal that people grew up with, and there's hair metal, and you can kind of pick your genre where you want to be. And that's cool. I think hip hop does need that. And I do think there needs to be a more of awareness for the older MCs. And I'm glad that the older MCs are able to find new audiences and stuff for their music via the internet. And you don't have to have the record labels always acting like gatekeepers on it, because I think one of the things is, and one of the challenges is the old record companies in the past have always been gatekeeping what MCs are doing in terms of what's contemporary and what sells. And now you have the internet where older MCs can self-publish their stuff, and they're not really beholden to what these labels are saying. And then they can really micro target their audience and sell directly to their audience. I like that. That's dope. And I think that that's an avenue that a lot of older MCs I would love to see them take. I think that would be fantastic for them to do. I want to see it. Um, And I love the fact that the younger kids have decided that they don't need a major label to get rolling and they can do their stuff independently. That I love that energy. I may not always connect with the music, but I love the energy of not having to deal with the major labels. And it's not necessarily a bad thing that the music industry is having a hard time selling hip hop because it's selling independently and artists are able to make money outside of the constructs of the industry. um, I think the younger kids can learn something from the older MCs in terms of how to put on a show and how to sell tickets and how to get people want to come see you live and want to come back to see you live. You have to give them a good show. You can't just go out and stand on stage and have them yell y- your song at, have them stand on stage and let them yell your song at you. And I think that's what a lot of the kids are seeing. And so you have to have a degree of showmanship. So I do think the generations can teach each other stuff. I do need people my age to stop expecting that these children make music that you connect with. And it's not just isolated to hip hop, but it is a hip hop issue. And I get tired of arguing with y'all online about it. Um, Stop expecting it. Stop expecting this kid that was born in the early 2000s to make stuff that you're going to spiritually connect with. That doesn't even make logical sense. All right, I've roasted y'all enough. Thank you for jumping on with the comments. If y'all have any perceptions about hip hop's Peter Pan syndrome, I got about maybe 15, 20 more minutes. Um, and just a conversation aging gracefully and maybe post some of your favorite current music from older artists. That'll be dope. So we can put the audience onto some stuff. And I'll make sure that I post it and share it on the feed so people can kind of know what's out there. um, but people really do have to stop chasing the youth hype so much and expecting these kids to make the music you connect with. It doesn't make any logical sense. If you see this live stream after it's posted, or you see this video after it's posted, still in the comments, post the current stuff from the older artists that you're connecting with or that you're vibing with, and start posting your playlists on here. Um, so that the older heads can kind of connect and see what's out there. Like I said, I've listed off a couple of things that I'm listening to. Um, you know, a couple of artists that I'm rocking with. Like I said, the new Paul Wall is really kind of an amazing album. And I wasn't a huge Paul Wall fan back in the day, I'll be honest with you, but I'm really liking his new stuff. I'm liking the new Slim Thug. He's still talking about what Slim Thug talks about, but it's dope. And it's a nice callback to that. I don't always have to necessarily relate 100% to what the artist is talking about. I know one of my favorite artists is Pusha T. All he does is talk about selling drugs. I am. I grew up in North Omaha, and we was in the hood, but I wasn't out like you know moving weight or any of the other stuff. But it's still something I can listen to. So I don't have to necessarily be 100% able to relate to all that stuff. One of my favorite artists growing up was Scarface. I didn't have any business listening to Scarface, but I listened to Scarface. Um, you know, and so I can connect with it and I can vibe to it. Doesn't mean I have to 100% relate to it, but some of y'all have the expectation that this kid, like this child, is supposed to tell your life story, and that is not how it works. If your child can dictate your life story, then you are not making wise adult choices in your life. If you could relate to the same thing this 21-year-old is relating to on a musical level in terms of circle activities, you aren't living a wise life. Anyway, post the stuff you're connecting with. I what matter of fact, I was gonna start kind of going through my playlist and showing you and just throwing out some stuff that I'm kind of bumping right now. Just so that we have a resource here because that's what's important. It's not enough to talk about it, it's time to be about it too. Um, let's see. Push, talked about Push. I'm trying to figure out, see, I can't remember the name of it. Anyway, let me know what you're thinking. Show me your playlist, and maybe you might inspire me. Um, I was rocking with that Toby. I can't ever say Toby's last name. I was rocking with that for a while, and I'm looking for something that kind of grabs me like that. Um, moving forward here. So that's what I got. Like I said, hip hop has Peter Pan syndrome. Some of y'all need to grow up. So just let it go, man. You're getting older, man. And, the rappers ain't rapping about having a mortgage, man. They rapping about being out and being out in these streets, and you too old to be listening to that, or you too old to be expecting to resonate with that. If the rapper's rapping about being out in the streets and you are 45 years old with 3 kids out in the streets, and you got a problem, bro. I know the joke was going on, was it, with uh Stack, Captain Jack. Captain Jack, he was talking about being out in the streets, bro. It doesn't why? You know? He's talking about being on old block and all this other stuff. You too old for all that, bro. Why are we doing this? You're older than me. And so I do think maybe it might be a credibility thing. I feel like, you never want to feel like you're the uncool person at the party where, you're uncool and you're old. That's really an uncomfortable feeling. And so I do think a lot of hip hop, older hip hop heads fall into that, where you don't really want to be seen as the old head out here, trying to be out here with these young bucks and stuff like that. And so you do start building this weird resistance to the concept of being older. And I get it. Nobody wants to admit they washed. Nobody wants to admit that they're washed. But there's nothing wrong with being washed in a certain degree. There's nothing wrong with rather wanting to stay at home and watch documentaries with your babies than being out in the club. Nothing wrong with that. And I feel like a lot of people fight against that, and they're constantly looking for something outside or external of themselves. And they don't really understand that, sometimes it's okay to let go of those things that you used to do that were entertaining to you as a child. Or sometimes it wasn't even fun. Like, I can't tell you how many times I was in the clubbing age where the club was popping, bro. Like, there was a lot going on in the club. Um, it's okay to admit that it wasn't fun all the time. And life's a little bit better now that you don't have to go do that every week. But some people have a very difficult time doing that and letting that go. And it's fear of what comes after instead of embracing what's now and embracing life as it is now. Maybe that's what it is, that fear of embracing life as it is, as opposed to constantly feeling like you have to chase what life was. Because when you're so focused on that backwards looking kind of stuff, you know, you end up pining or wishing for a life that never existed. And you are constantly never in the moment. You're never present in the moment. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Um, like I said, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but all I know is if you want Sexy Red to rap something you relate to, and you a 45-year-old man, then you got some issues that you got to address with yourself. If you can't connect with something Sexy Red says and it makes you mad, and you are 47, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you what to do with your life, is what I'm saying. I don't know what to tell you what to do with your life. Um, Ice Spice, you grown, worried about what Ice Spice is talking about. You got 4 kids. You worried about you got 4 kids and a mortgage, and you feel like, oh, I have a hard time connecting with Ice Spice. You in trouble, man. Like you are in trouble. You're a grown man, you are in trouble. You can't relate. You know, being 48 and like, yeah, man, I feel like, NBA young boy really understands me. You in a bad place, homie. Um, you need to make some better life choices. Is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm not dissing you. I'm not insulting you. I'm not making fun of you. I kind of am, but you got to get what I'm saying with this, right? You got to understand what I'm going with this. The idea that you are supposed, this feeling that the ship has sailed. The young current rappers that are coming out aren't rapping to you. They're not rapping for you as an audience. They don't care. And you shouldn't care either. It's dope. It's actually entertaining. It's refreshing to not be on the vanguard of pop culture because that means I can dress however I want to and I can do the things I want to and I can listen to whatever I want to. If I want to sit here and rock this Luke Cage shirt, I don't have to worry about anybody's approval on whether I want to rock the Luke Cage shirt and the hoodie. I can just go outside. I don't have to worry about matching anybody's popular aesthetic. And that's dope and that's refreshing and that's freeing. And I really wish some of y'all would free yourselves from the shackles of having to impress people that are younger than you all the time. It's got to be exhausting, is what I'm saying. So I'm literally tapped out on what new rappers there are out there. And so I feel like I need to go back and go through and have this big look and see who's actually popping right now. And just use them as examples. But like I said, the ones that I see are like your Sexy Red, Blueface done fell off, I guess, already. But if you worried about, man, Ice Spice making music that doesn't connect with me, man, you're 47 years old. You're a 47-year-old man. She shouldn't be making music that connects with you. That girl, like 22 years old, man. What can she possibly say that you're going to resonate with that impacts your life in a meaningful way? And if she can do that, she can say stuff that impacts your life in a meaningful way, then you need to sit down and have a long look at yourself in the mirror and figure out what your life has brought you to, where you can sit there and resonate 100% with what the 22-year-old is talking about. Where it defines your life. Pac defined your life because you're around the same age as him or a little bit younger, a little bit older. You're contemporaries. You understand the struggle and what he's talking about. But you expecting to connect with some of these children that are doing these TikTok songs? Sorry for you, homie. Anyway, I kind of beat that horse to death. Like I said, man, if you see this after this video after when I get done, in the comments, wherever you are, post what you're listening to. And I want to see your grown person playlist. And it's got to be hip hop. I want to make the rules. It's got to be a hip hop playlist. It's got to be hip hop tracks. It's got to be hip hop albums. Tell us what you're listening to that's coming out recently so we can find this stuff and go listen to it together. Because I'm looking for that grown up hip hop. And I feel like we're not giving it a chance to be grown up. So that's all I got. I appreciate y'all's time. I gotta go be a grown man and go pick up my children too. For those that I've been arguing with back and forth, listen, nothing personal, y'all. And I'm not dissing y'all. I'm not throwing shots or anything like that. It's not even one. It's all love. But the argument for me, and this is just my personal opinion, the argument that hip hop is dying or hip hop's gone somewhere or whatever, it doesn't resonate with me because I still find stuff that I enjoy and I can listen to. And I don't have the expectation that these children make music that I like. I like what I like, and I can go. My artists that I like are still making stuff, and I can go support them without having to burden these kids with the expectation to make stuff that appeals to me. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. It's all love, though. If you like this, go ahead and give me a like. Share it. We're going to be recutting this into a podcast episode or podcast episode or YouTube video or whatever. So I'll be recutting this, but that's all I got. It was a little bit unstructured and I might have got a little bit rambly. So please forgive me. I haven't done the Blerding While Dad live stream in a long, long time. And so trying to find my groove with it. If you got any other topics related to hip hop music or whatever, or comic books or anything nerdum related, we can chop it on here. I have a lot of hot takes about stuff, and so I'm going to start sharing them. But like I said, start posting what your grown up contemporary hip hop is and what you're listening to, and drop it in there. And it can't, if it's just Nas, and you can put it in there. I don't care, but I want you to post stuff that's dropped recently that you listen to, that it speaks to you as an older person, as a more mature person. And I want us to break this habit of expecting these kids to make music for us. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.